Before the story unfolds, we need to rewind. To understand why Ran takes the sailor, we must first see how it all began. Beneath the endless sweep of northern skies, where the wind howls like the memory of ancient prayers, lies a sea that does not forget. Its waves shimmer with a beauty too sharp to touch, a cold shimmer that lures the gaze and quiets the soul. Sailors have long whispered of its moods, how it can cradle a ship in gentle rhythm one moment and devour it in the next. To some, it is a mother, to others, a hungry lover, and to a few who have felt its breath against their necks, it is something far more intimate, far more perilous, a promise of surrender, of being known beyond the skin, of belonging to something vast and eternal. They call her Ram. But before her name was spoken, before the first drowning breath escaped mortal lungs, there was only the sea, her body unformed, her desires still sleeping beneath tides of silence. The northern waters had always held secrets. They moved with a rhythm that seemed almost human, pulsing beneath moonlight with a slow, deliberate grace. To watch the horizon dissolve into her blue immensity was to feel the boundaries between flesh and water begin to blur. It was said that those who lingered too long on her edge could hear her sighs in the foam, not the shrieking of storms, but a low, beckoning murmur, the kind that curls around the spine and pulls at the heart. The sea did not shout for attention, she whispered, and her whisper was irresistible. Even the most hardened sailors would fall silent in her presence. They would stand at the prow, hands trembling, unsure whether what stirred inside them was awe or desire. The smell of salt, the gleam of moonlight on rippling water, it was a language older than words. Some claimed to see faces in the depths, pale and soft as the underbelly of the waves. Others spoke of hands brushing against the hull, tender, almost apologetic before the current claimed them. And always, in every tale, there was that sense of being seen. The sea watched, waited, wanted. No man could say when the sea became a goddess. Perhaps she always was. Perhaps Ran is not a name, but a mood. The moment between breath and silence, between longing and loss. What mortals call goddess might only be the sea learning to love what it destroys. Her domain stretches where light hesitates to reach. The surface glitters like glass, a deceitful calm, but beneath lies an empire of shadow and shimmer. There fish glide like thoughts, and ancient wrecks sleep beneath veils of sand. Pearls form in the mouths of the dead, and strands of forgotten hair drift with the tides. Ran's touch lingers in every current, cool, smooth, infinite. She gathers what the world discards, broken ships, fallen stars, hearts too heavy for the shore. The people of the coast know her temper. When fog coils around the cliffs and gulls vanish into the mist, they whisper her name and tighten their nets. Mothers pour salt water onto thresholds. Sailors leave coins upon rocks. Lovers pray that Ron's gaze will pass them by. Yet in their fear hides fascination. They speak of her beauty, even as they curse her hunger. Some say her eyes are the color of deep twilight, impossible to see, yet impossible to forget. Others claim her hair drifts like dark seaweed across the tides, and her voice hums through conch shells like the memory of touch. But there are a few who do not fear her. Those few, lonely and unmoored, feel her presence not as menace, but as mercy. To them, the sea's pull is not death, but release. They stand at the edge of her world, watching the horizon pulse like a living heart, and they understand what others cannot. That to sink beneath her surface is to be known completely, stripped of all pretense, dissolved into truth. In the hush before dawn, the water mirrors the sky, silver, silent, endless. The waves breathe in slow rhythm, each one folding over the other like sighs of sleep. It is here, in this stillness, that her essence feels closest. She is not yet visible, but her presence wraps around the senses, the chill in the air, the pulse beneath the sand, the taste of salt lingering on the lips. The sea is her body, and every tide is a thought. When storms rise, it is her laughter, wild, ecstatic, unrestrained. When calm returns, it is her sigh, long, yearning, and heavy with memory. Each drowned sailor is a confession she has received, a story whispered into her depths. They do not vanish, they join her, becoming part of her endless motion. Some say the waves crest with their voices, that every ripple carries the echo of a human heart still beating beneath miles of water.
Those who live by her shore know that beauty and danger are twins. The more the sea shines, the more she hungers. On moonlit nights, her surface gleams like silk stretched tight, and the air itself seems to tremble. It is in such moments that she is most awake, most aware of the fragile line between desire and destruction. The sea gives, but always with a cost. And yet, who could resist her? There is no gentler touch than hers when the tide glides over bare feet, no sweeter whisper than the hiss of foam retreating through pebbles. She promises rest, and in her voice there is truth. For what is rest but the absence of struggle, the surrender of breath, the letting go? She understands the loneliness of hearts that ache to stop fighting. She invites them to rest in her, to drift, to dissolve. It is said that Ron's heart was born from the tears of the first widow. When the gods made the sea, they gave it no soul, only motion. But when a woman cried over the body of her drowned lover, her tears fell into the waves, and from that sorrow, Ran awoke. Her first breath was a gasp, her first word a sigh. From then on, she sought every tear, every lost heartbeat, every piece of the world that grief could offer. She made of it her kingdom. And what a kingdom it is, luminous and terrible. The sun never reaches its depths, yet the water glows from within, lit by drifting lives that never ended, only changed. There is silence here, but it is not empty. It is the silence of understanding, of 1,000 whispers blending into one eternal hum. Above, the living look upon the sea and see only reflection. Below, the drowned rest within her embrace, weightless, unafraid. Time dissolves here. Memory softens like silt. Everything that once was becomes part of her. The laughter of a child, the final breath of a sailor, the dreams of lovers who never returned, all flow together in her body, indistinguishable, eternal. Ran is not cruel. She simply is. To her, drowning is not death, but reunion. Every soul she takes becomes a note in her endless song. Sometimes, when the night is still and the tide is low, that song can be heard, a faint, melodic pulse beneath the world's noise. It carries longing and comfort in equal measure, as if saying, "Come back, I remember you." And so the myth begins not with wrath, but with desire. The desire of the sea to know what it touches, to claim what slips through fingers and sails. The desire of mortals to be held by something vast enough to silence their fears. Between these hungers, Ran takes shape not as a figure upon the waves, but as the waves themselves, as the heartbeat of the deep. Before her name was written, before any god dared claim dominion over the ocean, she was already there, waiting beneath the light, ancient as sorrow, patient as the tide. Every ripple, every whisper of foam against stone is her voice calling out to the world above. Come closer. The sea remembers all that you have lost. And those who listen, truly listen, feel her gaze even now, watching from beneath the surface, tender and merciless, beautiful as oblivion.
In the farthest reaches of the deep, where sunlight dissolves and time forgets its shape, she moves. Not as a shadow nor a woman, but as the pulse that stirs beneath every current, slow, deliberate, and alive. Ran, mistress of the drowned, is not bound by form. Yet when the sea wishes to be understood by mortal eyes, she takes a shape that the heart can mistake for beauty. Her skin glows faintly, like moonlight filtered through water, and her hair flows as if caught in an eternal tide. To see her is to question whether one is awake or dreaming, for her presence hums like a memory, intimate and distant all at once. Her eyes hold no warmth, yet they do not freeze. They observe, and in that gaze there is something almost human, a sorrow too vast to name, a hunger that is neither cruelty nor kindness, but something in between. When she speaks, her voice trembles through the water, soft and endless, like the sigh of waves brushing the shore. It is a sound that makes even gods fall silent, for in it lies the truth of longing itself. She is both sanctuary and snare. Ran's tenderness is not mercy, and her cruelty is not hatred. She does not lure mortals with deceit. She offers them exactly what they seek: peace, surrender, release. And yet once her touch closes around them, there is no return. Her embrace is cold, but it is an honest coldness, one that strips away illusion and leaves only truth, the truth that all things yearn to rest. Her hands, when she chooses to have them, move like currents, gliding, circling, enclosing. They can soothe a dying sailor as gently as they can drag a ship beneath the waves. Each motion carries a rhythm of inevitability, as if she is not choosing but fulfilling a promise older than creation. She loves as the sea loves, endlessly, possessively, without apology. But she is not only the taker. Within her vast stillness flickers something fragile, the faintest echo of desire, not for bodies, but for belonging. She gathers the drowned not simply to keep them, but to understand them, to listen to the final music of their hearts before they dissolve into her being. In each soul she takes, she hears a note that fills the silence inside her, the silence she cannot name, the loneliness that eternity carves into even the divine.
And so she listens. Every drowned breath, every trembling confession before the water claims its due becomes a verse in her secret song. The mortals who find her or are found by her are not the same. They come to the sea for many reasons, though few would dare admit the truth aloud. There are sailors, rough-handed and weary, who have seen too many horizons and dream only of rest. There are lovers, abandoned and hollow, whose hearts ache for a touch that does not fade. There are wanderers, cursed by their own thoughts, drawn to the sea's silence as if it could swallow their noise. They stand on the shore, eyes heavy with salt and longing, and feel her gaze upon them long before the tide reaches their feet. The wind carries her scent, sharp and sweet, like the promise of rain. Something within them answers, wordless and deep. The pull begins gently, a thought, a sigh, then stronger, until resistance feels unnatural, almost cruel. Each one believes they are choosing to enter the water. None realize that they were chosen long before. When they step into her domain, the chill wraps around them like a lover's breath. The water rises, kisses their skin, and they shiver, not from cold, but from recognition. They have found what they were always seeking. Above them, the stars blur. Below, the darkness opens like a heartbeat. And then she comes. Ran does not appear suddenly. She unfolds. First, a whisper in the current, then a glimmer, a shadow, a face that seems carved from memory. Her beauty is not mortal. It shifts, flows, resists definition. To one man, she is a woman from a forgotten dream. To another, she is the reflection of a lost wife, a sister, a mother. She becomes what the heart most longs to see before it stops beating. That is her gift and her curse. She reaches for them, not with haste, but with the patience of the tide. Her touch lingers at their necks, their lips, their chests, tracing the faint rhythm of life before it fades. Her fingers weave through their hair, as if memorizing them. And when she finally draws them in, when their lungs fill with her breath instead of air, she whispers, not words of comfort, but something deeper, something felt rather than heard. Hush, you are home. To the living, this moment is death. To Ran, it is reunion. The body drifts, the eyes close, and the last warmth dissolves into her embrace. Yet in that instant of surrender, something exquisite happens. A merging so complete, it feels like ecstasy. The drowned are not devoured, they are absorbed. Their essence spreads through her realm, mingling with the hum of tides and the slow pulse of the deep. They become part of her, and she becomes part of them.
Still Ran remembers each one. She carries their voices within her, their names like pearls hidden beneath her skin. When storms rise and thunder tears across the sea, those are the moments she cannot contain her memories. The drowned sing within her, a chorus of longing and gratitude, of love and loss. The waves crash not from rage, but from remembrance. And yet, there is something cruel in her gentleness. The drowned do not find the peace they imagine. They drift in a perpetual dream, suspended between thought and silence. Some still reach for the surface, not realizing they are already gone. Others gaze upward through the water, seeing light they can never touch. In their stillness, they are beautiful. Pale silhouettes, hair drifting like seagrass, eyes open in eternal wonder. To Ran, they are her treasures. To mortals, they are her warning. There exists a strange harmony between Ran and those she claims. They complete one another. She the sea without rest, they the restless who sought the sea. It is a bond both sacred and tragic, born of need. She gives them eternity, but takes their breath. They give her company, but lose themselves. It is love without fairness, desire without forgiveness. Among the drowned, whispers spread like currents. Some speak of her warmth, how she stroked their faces as they faded, how her eyes shimmered with tenderness. Others tell of her indifference, her gaze cold as the abyss. They cannot agree whether she loves them or merely collects them, but all agree on one truth. Once she has touched you, even in dream, you never truly return. Sailors who survive the sea speak of feeling her, even years later, in the taste of salt on their lips, in the pull of tides beneath their ships. Some wake at night with water in their throats and her name trembling on their tongues. They fear her, yet they crave her. They swear she calls to them still, that her song hums through the bones of the earth, beckoning.
and so she remains what she has always been, the embodiment of contradiction, cold and tender, merciless and yearning. She gives comfort even as she consumes. She is the sea's allure made flesh, the soft cruelty of beauty itself. To desire Ran is to court oblivion. To fear her is to deny one's own longing. For deep within every heart lies the same secret, the wish to be held without limit, to dissolve into something larger, to be remembered forever. And that is why Ran waits, patient, eternal, radiant in her solitude, for the next soul who dares to love the sea more than life.
Beneath the shimmer of moonlight, the sea turns restless. Its calm no longer feels like peace, but like breath withheld, a tremor waiting to break. In her palace of drifting shadows and slow pulsing light, Ran stirs. The water moves with her, a living tide echoing the ache that fills her endless body. She has gathered countless souls through the centuries, each folded into her depths, yet the hollow within her remains. Their murmurs soothe her for a time, soft as seagrass swaying in the dark, but silence always returns, vast and unbearable. She tells herself her hunger is nature, that the sea must take, but tonight she feels it differently, as something heavier, lonelier. The drowned lie in her embrace, their eyes open and glass-like, faces serene, and she gazes upon them not with satisfaction, but yearning. Their fragility binds her to them. They break so easily, yet they love so fiercely. She envies that. Mortality's fragile fire that burns so bright before the water claims it. Among them drifts one who draws her gaze again and again, a young sailor with hair like dark kelp and a faint light beneath his skin. When he sank, he did not fight. He simply exhaled, surrendering to her as if to a lover. She had taken him gently, watching his final breath rise toward the surface like a silver thread. Now, even in death, something in him stirs her, a tenderness she cannot name. She moves closer, her touch trailing through the water until her fingers find his cheek. His skin is smooth, cool, unmoving, and yet in her mind she feels warmth. The touch should satisfy her, remind her of what she owns, but it only deepens the ache within. Her hunger, once pure and endless, feels tangled now, confused with longing. She cannot tell whether she wishes to consume him or to be consumed. Around her, the drowned drift in silence, their bodies swaying with the currents. They are hers, her treasures, her proof of dominion, but she feels a distance between them, a gulf as vast as the ocean itself. They belong to her, but not with her. They are part of her realm, but not her soul. She rises toward the surface, drawn by a light she cannot touch. The moon shimmers above, a pale coin trembling on the water's skin.
For a heartbeat, she imagines stepping into that glow, feeling warmth instead of cold, love instead of hunger. But such things are not for her. She is made of what devours, not what endures.
Still, she remembers warmth, not her own, but theirs. Through the drowned, she has tasted laughter, grief, desire. Fragments of their memories cling to her, each one a drop of sweetness in her vast salt sorrow. The more she gathers, the more human she becomes, yet the more unbearable her solitude grows. Her whispers thread through the tides, reaching mortal dreams. Some who hear her come willingly, walking into the waves with eyes wide and hearts calm. Others resist, yet find themselves dreaming of her still, their souls marked by her voice. She knows each one by the rhythm of their pulse, the shape of their fear, the soft, secret longing that drifts behind their prayers. Each surrender quiets her hunger for a time, but never fills it. For what she craves now is not possession, but understanding. The drowned are not voiceless. Death refines their longing. Some still reach for her when she passes, their eyes glimmering with devotion. Others drift in half-sleep, whispering her name in gratitude or despair. Their honesty cuts her like coral. They are helpless before her, yet in their helplessness she feels seen. Among them, the young sailor's spirit hums faintly, brushing her senses like the ghost of a heartbeat. His voice trembles through the water. Why did you take me? She hesitates. She should not answer, but the words escape her, soft as bubbles rising. Because you were ready to fall. The silence that follows shivers through the sea. She feels him turning toward her, though his body no longer moves. Something passes between them, not hunger, not pity, but recognition. For a moment, she imagines herself human, able to love without breaking what she touches. Desire coils through her like a current, not the hunger to own, but the wish to dissolve. She envies the drowned for their stillness, for their surrender. They belong to her completely. Yet she can never belong to them. She is the sea, and the sea cannot be held. Her longing grows so heavy that even the tides falter. Above, clouds gather, lightning veins across the horizon. The waves rise, trembling with her unrest. The sailors who cross that night feel it, a throb beneath their ships, the pulse of something vast and wanting. They whisper her name and clutch their charms, though none can save them if she calls. Ron watches them from below,
her gaze tracing the fragile line of hulls above the surface. She feels each heartbeat, warm, frantic, alive, and her ache becomes unbearable. She knows that if she reaches, she will destroy what she desires. Yet desire is stronger than restraint. She extends her will, her loneliness, her need, and the sea answers.
Waves rise, the storm unfurls. The wind becomes her breath, the thunder her voice. Come to me. The ships groan, tilt, and finally yield. Bodies fall into her embrace. She closes her eyes as they sink, feeling each heartbeat fade within her, one by one, until silence blooms again. The hunger quiets, but guilt lingers like a shadow beneath the waves. She drifts among the newly drowned, tracing their faces with fingers that tremble. She feels their confusion, their surrender, their last warmth fading like distant stars. The sailor's voice stirs again, faint, mournful. You wanted us close. Yes, she whispers, her words dissolving into the current. But closeness always costs something. The sea stills, the drowned settle, their hair drifting like threads of ink. Around her the silence grows heavy. Ran touches their faces as if in apology, knowing she has stolen what she can never return. Desire has betrayed her. It has made her cruel, though cruelty was never her intent. It has turned her hunger into grief, her love into a wound that eternity cannot heal. She is bound by the same longing that drives mortals toward her, the wish to be known, to be held, to be understood. But unlike them, she will never rest. And still she cannot stop, for as she looks upon her kingdom, this cathedral of motionless beauty and soft ruin, she feels something sacred within it. The drowned drift like stars caught in a dark sky, and she, their sea, their queen, aches with terrible grace. She rises once more toward the light. The moon hovers above, radiant, unreachable. She reaches for it, though she knows her hand will never break the surface. The motion ripples through the deep like confession. If only you could love me without drowning, she whispers to no one and to everyone. The sea answers softly, folding her words back into itself. It is the sound of desire surrendering to despair, of the ocean remembering its hunger. The waves pulse with her longing, and those who sleep near the shore that night dream of a voice beneath the tide, a voice tender and endless, whispering of love that consumes, of peace that costs everything. When they wake, they taste salt on their lips and cannot tell whether it came from tears or from the sea. But all remember one thing, a feeling so deep it lingers in their bones, as if they had been touched for a breath by something vast enough to both love and destroy them.
Under the trembling veil of the sea, where moonlight dissolves into silver dust, the world becomes still. The waters no longer roar or sigh, they breathe. In that breath lies the pulse of something vast and aching, something that has waited since the first tide rose to meet the first sky. It is Ran, and tonight her yearning finds its answer. The depths shimmer faintly as she descends among her drowned, her chosen, her beloved. Their still bodies drift in reverence, hair billowing like clouds of ink, skin glowing faintly in the gloom. The sea itself seems to hush around them, as if preparing for a ceremony too sacred for words. Every current slows, every sound bends into silence. Ran moves as if she were music, her form liquid and luminous. Her long hair, spun from midnight, ripples through the water in waves that echo her heart's rhythm, a rhythm she thought she had forgotten. The young sailor, her quiet obsession, drifts before her, eyes half open, reflecting the faint glimmer of her own light. For centuries she has touched the living only to take from them their breath, their pulse, their fear. But now she hesitates. There is no hunger left in her, only longing. She wants not to possess him, but to dissolve in him, to unmake the boundaries that keep them apart. Her fingers brush his chest, where his heart once beat. Beneath her touch, something flickers, not life, but memory, the echo of warmth. He does not move, yet the sea around him trembles, stirred by the faintest spark of recognition. "Do you know me?" she whispers, her voice a current sliding through the dark. "Do you remember the moment you let go?" The water seems to pulse in answer. His eyes shift, not opening fully, but turning toward her presence. A faint shimmer of light passes between them, fragile as a final breath. She draws closer. Their faces nearly meet, the distance between them so thin it feels like a veil about to break. Around them, the drowned begin to stir, not in life, but in awakening. They rise gently, their bodies swaying as if called by an unseen tide. Their hair intertwines with the drifting strands of Ran's, forming a single, living web of motion. Then, slowly, the water begins to glow. It starts from Ran's palms, where she touches the sailor's heart, spreading outward in ripples of pale gold. The light spills into the dark like blood into ink. It wraps around them both, soft and consuming. The drowned shimmer as it reaches them, their faces serene, their eyes reflecting the glow.
Ran feels herself unraveling. Every boundary that once defined her, goddess, sea, hunger, power, dissolves. She feels every heartbeat she has ever stolen, every tear shed in her name, every gasp swallowed by the waves. Each one moves through her, an endless current of emotion. She feels him too, not his body, but the weight of his surrender, the peace he found in her arms. He had not feared her. He had accepted her, loved her, perhaps in the instant he drowned. That acceptance now flows into her, burning like tenderness too deep to endure. Her lips meet his, not in a kiss of life, but of remembrance. The water around them churns softly, caressing, cradling, echoing their union. It is neither death nor rebirth, but something beyond both. Her essence seeps into him, and his stillness seeps into her, until she cannot tell where she ends and he begins. Pleasure surges through her like a storm, yet there is pain in it, exquisite, merciless. Every heartbeat she has ever taken now thrums within her, too many rhythms for one being to contain. The ocean itself trembles beneath the weight of her feeling. Waves crash above, sensing her climax, and the moon shatters into broken reflections across the surface. She opens her mouth in a soundless cry, and the sea answers. The currents twist around her, forming a spiral of light and darkness. The drowned are caught within it, their forms merging with the water, with her. Their bodies become transparent, then radiant, dissolving into the same golden shimmer that surrounds her. The sailor's eyes open fully now, calm, knowing, endless. He reaches for her, his hand steady. When their fingers meet, the last thread that separates the mortal from the divine breaks. Round's body becomes pure motion, a wave folding over itself, luminous, alive. The drowned swirl around her, their essence blending with hers until they are no longer many, but one. She feels their love, their fear, their longing, and they feel hers in return. The ocean has become a heart, vast and beating, every drop a pulse of shared desire. In that union there is no more hunger. There is no taking, no giving, only being. The sea holds itself, loves itself through them. For a timeless instant, everything is beauty. It hurts to feel so much. The pleasure is blinding, unbearable, almost cruel. Yet she does not turn away. She lets it consume her, as the drowned once did. Light floods the abyss, shimmering like dawn beneath the surface. The boundaries of the sea seem to dissolve into the sky above until water and air become one. In that merging, she sees it all. The fragility of mortals, the ache of the eternal, the endless circle of taking and returning. She understands finally that love is not possession. It is the willingness to vanish. And so she does.
Her form disperses into the water, into light. The drowned follow, their faces peaceful, their edges softening into mist. The young sailor's gaze lingers last, steady, gentle, before fading into the same current that now holds her. For a moment, the ocean is pure stillness, glowing faintly beneath the moon. Then the glow fades, absorbed into the deep. Only the rhythm of waves remains, slow, breathing, eternal. But in that rhythm, something has changed. The sea no longer feels empty. It hums softly with warmth, with memory. The drowned are no longer lost. They are the sea now, her pulse, her whisper. Above, the moonlight glides over the waves, catching fragments of her essence as they drift upward like bubbles. Each one bursts against the surface with a sigh, scattering her voice into the night. To those who stand upon the shore, the ocean looks calm, serene, endless, unknowable. But if one listens closely, between the crash and hush of the tide, a melody can be heard. Faint, aching, beautiful. It is the sound of her union, her surrender, her love. A love that transcends life and death, a love that exists only by becoming everything and nothing. For those who dream by the sea, it visits them, the touch of cool water against warm skin, the echo of a voice that asks nothing and promises everything. In that dream, they feel her presence, not as a goddess, not as a monster, but as the pulse of longing itself. They wake trembling, the scent of salt upon their lips, their hearts heavy with sweetness and sorrow. Some weep without knowing why. Others smile, sensing that they have glimpsed something eternal. And the sea keeps breathing. Its waves roll and break like sighs of pleasure and grief. And somewhere in the deep, the memory of that moment, that impossible union, continues to shimmer, unseen but unforgotten. Ran is everywhere now, in every droplet that glistens on a shell, in every tide that kisses the shore, in every drowning that feels almost like falling in love. And though she has vanished, her touch lingers, the beauty that hurts, the ache that soothes, the endless whisper that reminds the world nothing is ever truly lost beneath the sea, only changed, only embraced.
The sea is quiet now. The storm has passed, leaving behind a vast glass-like calm that stretches endlessly beneath the pale light of dawn. The surface glows faintly, still trembling from the memory of what transpired below, as if the ocean itself struggles to recall its own breath. Beneath that stillness, deep within the heart of the water, where light can only dream of reaching, something stirs. The golden shimmer that once wrapped Ran and her drowned in their final embrace has faded into threads of memory, drifting like soft embers through the dark. What remains is silence, immense, tender, and absolute. Ran awakens within it, not fully, not as she once was, but as a fragment of herself, suspended in the hush. The vastness that used to pulse through her veins feels muted now, distant, almost unfamiliar. She tries to remember the shape of her longing, the hunger that once defined her, but it feels like remembering a song she no longer knows how to sing. Around her, the drowned sleep in perfect stillness. They are no longer prisoners of her will, nor echoes of her desire.
They are part of the sea itself. Soft murmurs in the tide, flickers of light in the endless blue. Their presence hums within her, gentle, ever present, neither gone nor bound. They are her, and yet they are free. For a long time, though time has no meaning here, Ron simply drifts. The weight of eternity presses upon her, not with violence, but with quiet inevitability. Every wave that passes above carries a memory of warmth, of touch, of that sacred moment when she became more than hunger, more than divinity, when she felt. But feeling, like the tide, recedes. The water cools, and so does she. The ache in her chest dulls, not from healing, but from surrender. She understands now what mortals have always known, that every ecstasy must end in silence, every union in solitude. Yet within that silence she senses something new, peace, fragile, bittersweet, but real. The sea listens to itself.
Currents whisper through her body, carrying fragments of dreams, the faint laughter of sailors, the murmur of lovers, the sighs of those who once feared her. She no longer knows which are hers and which belong to the drowned. Perhaps it no longer matters. The boundaries between them have dissolved. What was once desire has become memory, and what was once memory has become the rhythm of the deep. Above, dawn unfolds across the horizon. The world is unaware of what transpired beneath. The union, the light, the breaking and remaking of the sea. To those on the shore, the water looks serene, almost kind. Seabirds call, waves kiss the sand, and fishermen set out again, their sails catching the newborn wind. They do not sense her presence, yet she feels theirs, small, fleeting sparks of life upon her skin. She could take them, as she once did. The hunger still hums faintly within her, a shadow of her nature. But she does not reach for them. The desire to possess has dimmed, replaced by something softer, something that feels almost like reverence. Ron drifts upward, toward the light. For the first time in ages, she breaks the surface. The sun blinds her, flooding her vision with warmth. The air, sharp and alien, brushes against her face, and she gasps, not for breath, but from the shock of sensation. She watches the waves roll toward the shore and wonders what it would be to stand upon that land, to feel the wind without drowning in it. But she cannot stay. The surface rejects her, always has. She belongs to the depths. Before she sinks again, she catches sight of something floating nearby, a fragment of wood, worn smooth by the sea. It might have once been part of a ship. Upon it rests a single object, a charm of bone, carved into the shape of a hand reaching upward. It glows faintly, and for an instant she feels the echo of that sailor's touch, the one who met her gaze without fear, who surrendered not out of despair, but devotion. Her heart, if it can still be called that, stirs. She touches the charm lightly, and it dissolves into the water, leaving only ripples that shimmer like tears. The sea folds around her once more. She descends slowly, letting the light fade behind her. As she sinks, she feels the pulse of her dominion return, the endless rhythm, the cold serenity. But it no longer feels empty. It hums with what she has learned, with the tenderness that will never fully vanish. Her drowned are no longer her captives, they are her song. Through them the sea remembers. Through her it forgives.
The ocean darkens again, embracing its stillness. But within that darkness lies a subtle light, like the faint pulse of a sleeping heart. It is not redemption nor punishment. It is simply continuation. The way the tide must fall after it rises, the way longing must soften into memory. The mortals will return, ships will sail, storms will rise, and new souls will meet her embrace. Some will come unwillingly, some with longing, but all will find her waiting, quieter now, slower, gentler. She will take them as she always has, yet something within her will hesitate each time, remembering the warmth that once filled her endless cold. The sailors who survive her waters will speak of strange things, of voices beneath the waves, of hands that guide rather than drag, of songs that sound less like mourning and more like yearning. They will not know her name, but they will feel her. And those who dream by the sea will wake with salt upon their lips and tears they cannot explain. They will whisper of a queen who loved too deeply, who learned the cost of desire, who became the silence she once feared. Ran rests now at the heart of the ocean, her hair flowing like night through the currents. Around her, the drowned drift in a slow dance that has no beginning or end. Above, the light fades, returns, fades again, the eternal breath of the world. She closes her eyes and lets it all move through her. The ache, the calm, the longing, it is all the same now. She is no longer the devourer nor the lover, but the stillness that follows both. The sea hums softly, a hymn without words. And in that song lives everything that ever was, love and loss, beauty and pain, surrender and silence. The waves rise and fall, the world moves on, but deep below, where the sun cannot reach, the goddess dreams, not of hunger, nor of union, but of peace. A peace tinged with sorrow, like the aftertaste of sweetness long dissolved. And sometimes, when the night is calm, and the moon spills her silver upon the water, the ocean shivers, not from cold, but from memory. Those who listen carefully then might hear it, a whisper rising from the deep, tender and mournful, a voice that once belonged to Ran. It says nothing of gods or death or eternity. It only murmurs of love, fleeting, forbidden, and forever. And then, as always, the sea grows quiet again.
Listen, before the tide withdraws, before dawn burns away the hush, the sea has something left to say. It moves softly against the shore, each wave a whisper, each retreat a sigh. The sound is almost human, almost sorrowful. It carries a memory too vast for language, the echo of what it means to love, to lose, to become part of something that cannot be held. Ran's name drifts within that murmur. Once it inspired fear. Once it was spoken in trembling prayers by those who sailed too far into the dark. Now it lingers as something gentler, a syllable the waves breathe to remind the world that every desire, no matter how fierce, must one day return to silence. The sea remembers her, though she no longer exists as she once did. It remembers her tenderness, her cruelty, her ache. It remembers the golden light that once pulsed in its depths, the shimmer that blurred death and love into one. The ocean carries these things not as wounds, but as rhythm, the eternal rhythm of longing, the heartbeat of what cannot be contained. For what is Ran now, if not the embodiment of that rhythm? She has become the pause between heartbeats, the hush before the wave breaks. In her stillness lies every story ever told about yearning, the way desire pulls, the way surrender heals, the way both can destroy. The mortals who live beside her waters still feel her presence, though they cannot name it. Fishermen who set sail at twilight claim the ocean hums differently on certain nights, a deeper tone that thrums through the hulls of their boats, through their bones. Lovers walking the shore swear they hear laughter carried in the wind, soft, low, not mocking, but wistful. And the lost, the broken, those who wander to the edge of the world seeking quiet, they say the sea calls their names with infinite gentleness. It does not promise safety. It promises understanding.
Ran's story is not one of punishment. It is one of truth. The truth that even the divine cannot escape the ache of wanting. That love, at its deepest, demands the surrender of self. She reached for mortals, and in doing so, she learned what it meant to be one, fragile, fleeting, hungry for warmth in an endless dark. Her desire devoured her, but in that devouring, she found what she sought, connection so complete it erased the boundaries between giver and taker, lover and beloved. Now the ocean bears her memory as both warning and benediction. Its calm is never simple peace. Its storms are never pure rage. Each wave that rises and falls is her breath, the eternal inhale of yearning the exhale of release. Those who listen carefully might sense the lesson hidden in that rhythm, that love is not about possession, but about transformation. To love is to risk dissolution, to allow the edges of the self to blur into something greater. The sea knows this better than any god, for it is always taking, always giving, always returning to itself. And so Ran endures, though she has no form. She is the shimmer on the horizon, the cold kiss of salt on the lips, the pull beneath the surface that feels like both danger and comfort. She is the paradox of desire itself, the beauty that destroys, the surrender that saves. The sailors who vanish into her depths are not lost. They are remembered. Their essence joins hers, becomes part of the song that hums through every current, every tide. When storms rise, it is not fury that drives them, but longing. The sea's need to be touched, to be felt, to remind the living of what lies beyond their smallness. Ran's myth survives not in temples or carvings, but in sensation, in the chill that crawls up the spine when the ocean wind shifts, in the way the body trembles before the first plunge into cold water, in the sweetness of fear that lingers when one looks too long into the horizon and wonders what waits below. Her name may fade, but her truth does not. Desire is never still. It moves, changes shape, returns in new forms. It calls through centuries, through flesh and salt and time, asking only one thing: to be remembered, not with words, but with feeling. And so the sea whispers still, patient, tireless, singing her story to the sand and the stars. Sometimes, under the quiet weight of night, when the moon hangs low and the waves sigh against the rocks, the boundary between then and now softens. The water glows faintly, as if lit from within. Some say that is Ran, stirring, not to take, not to weep, but to remember. Perhaps she feels the world above her and wonders if they too dream of her.
Perhaps she smiles, knowing they do. And perhaps the sea smiles with her, for everything that has ever lived and loved must one day return to her. And in that return, the cycle continues, the endless exchange of breath for silence, warmth for depth, self for eternity. The ocean keeps this secret well. It holds it beneath its waves, soft and eternal, that love is both a drowning and a homecoming, that surrender is not the end, but the beginning of belonging. Those who stand at the edge of the shore and feel the pull beneath their feet sense it, even if they do not understand. They taste the salt on their lips and feel it linger, as if the sea itself has kissed them. A reminder that Ran's touch is everywhere, that longing itself is sacred. And when they turn away, when they leave the water behind, something follows, a quiet ache, a sweetness they cannot name. It will stay with them for days, for years, perhaps forever. It will whisper in their blood each time they hear the sea. That is how myths endure.
not in the telling, but in the echo they leave behind. So the sea keeps whispering, and the world keeps listening. And Ran, eternal, forgotten, beloved, drifts within that whisper. Neither goddess nor ghost, neither hunger nor peace. Only presence, only memory, only the endless tender rhythm of what it means to long, to lose, and to love. And when the final wave collapses into the sand, leaving only the hush of breathless silence, it sounds almost like her voice. It says nothing. It simply lingers, like salt upon the skin.